Okay, Dan.
Okay. I'd like to call to order the Board of Supervisors meeting for Monday, November 28th, 2022 at 6:50 PM. This is following our special town board meeting, as we noticed. I'd like to have a roll call to establish a quorum. Amy, please.
Chairman Dan Wolfle.
Here.
Supervisor Mark Hain.
Here.
Supervisor Linda Waite.
Here.
Supervisor Jeannie Vogel.
Here.
Supervisor Derek Daniel is excused.
Correct. Well, we can skip the meet and greet, other than one gentleman who walked in who we don't know, so we'll make him identify himself.
My name is Jack Egsted. I'm with Portside Builders. I'm representing the with Renee Borkovitz on behalf of James and Janet Havlicek.
Okay.
Oh,
Good. Glad to have you.
Yep, thank you.
Public participation, anyone here wishing to speak on any non-agenda items? Hearing none. All right, next step would be to adopt the agenda. I assume it was properly noticed as usual.
The agenda was properly noticed.
All right, motion to adopt would be in order.
I'll make the motion. Go ahead, Jeannie.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Motion by Jeannie, second by
Second.
Mark to adopt the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Derek? No, he's okay. All right, approval of minutes, Board of Supervisors meeting, October 17th. You've all had a chance to take a look at it, so a motion to approve would be appropriate.
I'll move to approve and place on file our board minutes of Monday, October 17th, 2022.
Okay, motion by Linda, second
Second.
by Ms. Vogel. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Approved, moved on. Pending business. Our final version of our 2023 meeting schedule. So we have pretty much set everything up as discussed, other than the road inspection, and we have the open book and border review dates. So the open book will be May 26th, and the border review will be June 27th of 2023. So if you have issues with your tax bill, make note of those. There'll be more information forthcoming. Anybody else have a change, question, whatever with this? Good to go? All right, done. We will move on to a discussion regarding, Linda, this is all yours. This is an opportunity. We will be talking with Renee Borkovitz on behalf of James and Janet Havlicek. Is that right, Havlicek? Petition for a variance from the Door County floodplain zoning ordinance to place fill towards the south and north lot lines. The owners propose to remove an existing garage, construct a two-story addition and a one-story addition with garage, living space, and deck. The property is located at 5305 South Lake Road, Town of Sevastopol. Linda, would you like to cover that?
Sure, I'll just recap. So the Plan Commission heard this request on Tuesday, November 15th. Renee Borkovitz and Jack Egsted were here again on behalf of the petitioning party, the Havliceks. And following discussion and whatever, the packet included very detailed information on elevation and removing an existing garage, adding a one-story addition and a two-story addition with living space. And we also had discussion on the, I'll call it a retaining wall between the neighbor to the, I'll say north, who were also present, the Schucharts were here. They had no objection to the request, but we did address if there was going to be a water problem accumulating, since the proposal is to bring the elevation up, that to keep an eye just in case there would be water puddling near that retaining wall or onto the neighboring property. And I think Renee and Jack addressed that pretty well, that they would keep an eye on that. So it was the unanimous recommendation of the Plan Commission that the town board support the request for the variance. And that was the reasons for the Plan Commission's decision. It was in a remodeled house would be in keeping with the surrounding neighborhood. Also adds, of course, to the town's tax base with substantial improvements. The drawings indicated that it would make a very nice year-round home if that was the property owner's choice. It also meets the shoreline zoning requirements, and we felt that the request for the variance was reasonable. Is the proposal consistent with our comprehensive plan? Yes, it is retaining residential use in that neighborhood. Concerns or objections? We felt that drainage, if it does become a nuisance created by the owners and the increased elevation, that the owners would address that and take care of it. We also had a discussion on the holding tank because of the increased square footage, that the holding tank needs to be properly sized and located per the Door County Sanitarians Department. And Renee and Jack also addressed that as well. I believe there's a new holding tank going into the front, I'll say southern, western side of the property. So, and that the retaining wall would be aesthetically pleasing to the neighbors as well, and consistent with neighboring properties. So, I don't know if there's anything that Renee or Jack want to add to that.
Sure. This is Renee Borkovitz with Stantec. We were formerly Bodwin, but we, this past fall, made that business change. So therefore, from here on out, we're Stantec now. So I'd just like to reiterate that the request that we are here for is in regards to the floodplain zoning requirements, which establish a minimum vertical elevation for the house and the additions, as well as a horizontal requirement. So we are meeting all of those minimum vertical elevations that they are, the finished floor and the crawl space are set at or above the base flood elevation based on the county requirements. And the part that we are requesting that relief from is the horizontal requirement that 15 feet of fill surrounding the residence has to be at elevation 101.3. And per our site map that you can see, we're requesting portions of the residence to be reduced from that 15 feet to 10.7 feet and 9.1 feet. With the constraints being the lot line towards the north and an existing retaining wall towards the south. So that is what the variance request is for.
Okay. Does Jack have anything that he desires to speak about?
I think Renee pretty well covered it. So the concerns of the Plan Commission, one was, I know they brought up to be an Airbnb, and we got a confirmation from the owner that it's not going to be an Airbnb. So I know they were concerned about that. And you can see on the new site plan, it shows the location of the holding tank and the LP tank. So that's now indicated on the site plan.
And we have a sketch up that we put together after a meeting, just for our reference, that we'll be able to adjust and distribute and use for construction purposes.
Okay. Does the board have any questions of either of these people?
Very well covered.
Well covered. Well, in that case,
Okay, I would
you could make
I
a
would make a
motion.
motion then that the town board of Sevastopol forward to the, I think this is the Board of Adjustment, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, a recommendation to support the request as presented and proposed in the packet received from land use.
I'll second that.
All right, motion by Linda, second by Jeannie, to forward a recommendation to the Board of Adjustment in support of their request. Any further conversation?
As far as the answers to the 3 questions, just use the same ones that the Plan Commission used?
That would be,
Is it consistent with the comprehensive plan? Right.
when you address the the only issue of runoff,
Right.
that would be great. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next item of business is notice of spring election. So for those who are unaware, there will be an election in April 4th of 2023 for the office of chairman and the office of town board supervisor, currently held by Ms. Waite, and the other office of town board supervisor, currently held by Mark Hain. Nomination papers can be taken out December 1st, and you may stop at the office and have Ms. Flock take care of that with you. Paperwork is due back at 5 p.m. Tuesday, January 3rd. So, all right. And to not go without a resolution would make for a boring meeting. So, what we need to do is, the next order of business would be resolution number 2022-11TB to establish a tax rate for 2022 to be collected in 2023. All right.
Is that simultaneous with the adoption of the budget?
Yes, I was just going to say, where is the, no, we have the budget down below.
No, it's
Resolve
on-
tax mill supported
No,
levy
that's a number 8.
budget.
Adoption
C.
of the budget,
Yep, so there has to be a motion.
right.
Yep.
Item C.
New business, number 8.
Yeah. That's what I was looking for, but I don't have the motion.
Well, we could just, it's
All right,
just a
we'll just
motion.
do
I
the
just-
motion.
motion.
Yeah, that's right. You're right. I'm talking about the resolution, we want to do a motion. All right, the motion we would require a motion to adopt the town budget as discussed at the public hearing earlier this evening. So the motion from,
I'll make a motion to adopt the 2023 town budget.
motion by Mark, second by Linda to approve the 2023 town budget
as presented this
as
evening.
presented this evening at 6:30 and later confirmed. All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Now we have the resolution number 2022 TB, 11 TB, establish a tax rate for 2022 to be collected in 2023. And whereas a tax levy of $665,238 was adopted at the special town meeting held on November 28, 2022, in accordance with section 60.10, Article 1, Section A of Wisconsin statutes, and whereas the levy supports the 2023 budget as previously submitted and or amended at such hearing held pursuant to section 65.90 of Wisconsin statutes, with total expenditures of $1,485,329. And whereas, in accordance with section 60.40, section 4 of Wisconsin statutes, the town board adopted the 2023 town budget on November 28, 2022. Now therefore be it resolved that the tax or mill rate in support of such levy and budget be established at 0.89621 for the year 2022 to be collected in 2023, based on the final statement of assessment for 2022 with an aggregate assessed value of $742,272,600. Sorry, I'm not used to dealing in that many millions. Submitted by yours truly. So we would need a motion to pass that resolution.
Do we need to worry about that dollar again?
I'll update that.
Pardon me?
I'll update the dollar.
665,239.
Yep.
It's supposed to be 239?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I
And
have.
actually,
Okay. On ours, it says 238.
The actual motion to establish is 329.
No, the tax levy of 665,238 on
Oh,
ours.
sorry.
Send the text later.
Yeah, yeah,
Supposed to
sorry.
be 239.
I can update that. You can still make a motion.
sure, and then we can fix that on the,
Yep.
this one too. No big deal.
All right.
We'll find a dollar somewhere.
I'll tell you what, to get the motion through, I'll throw
I'll
it in.
chip in.
All right. So, did we have a motion here?
I'll move to, did you make the motion, Mark?
Nope.
Oh, okay, I'll move to accept and approve resolution number 2022-11, Town Board establishing the mill rate at 0.89621 for the year 2022 to be collected in the year 2023 based on our statement of assessment.
Wow, all right. Second by?
Second.
Second by Mark. Any further discussion on the missing dollar? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right. It's been an interesting evening of resolutions and motions. All right. So we'll move on to the financial reports for the month, and you have our account balances, you have the budget versus actual in your packet, and you have the transactions list by date. And we also have a comment, I think, from our town, this will be from our town treasurer.
Yes. The town has received the remainder of its shared revenues from the state, and we have also received our reimbursement from the EMRs from Door County for the EMRs for workers' comp. And the 2022 tax bills will be out in the mail by December 15th.
Ooh. Lots of good news this evening.
Tons.
All right, thank you. All right, we need a motion to put those documents, that financial reports on file.
I'll make a motion to put the financial reports of October 2022 on file.
All right, motion by Mark, second by
I'll second.
Jeannie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Good. Next item, I think you've had a chance to look at the vouchers, bills, and claims, October 18th through November 28th. If you had, and you have no questions, a motion to approve would be in order.
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers, bills, and claims for October 18th, 2022 through November 28th, 2022.
Motion by Jeannie, second by?
Second.
Second by Mark. Any further questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We'll pay our bills. All right, oral committee or commission reports. We do have the communications and technology minutes from October 19th. And we have the plan commission minutes from the Thursday, October meeting of the plan commission. So we would want to approve those, but is there anyone else that would have any oral committee reports they would like to make?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Jeannie, please. do.
I just wanted to go back and reference what I didn't say at the the budget was that the internet service providers, the 5 internet service providers received the request for proposal. Their response is due this Wednesday by 5 p.m. At this point, there have not been a response yet. The meeting to analyze and score those responses will be on December 16th. It will be in closed session. On January 9th, there will be a public hearing, so everyone is encouraged to attend to be able to find out what exactly is going on with the broadband initiative. So please attend.
What time is that?
What time, Judy?
6 p.m.
At the government center?
Here.
No, it's here.
Okay.
All right, Jeannie, thank you. Anything, Linda?
I would mention the tourism zone, but maybe I'll address that
In
on the
correspondence?
correspondence item.
Okay, we can do that. All right, we need a motion to approve the minutes and put those on file.
I'll move to accept the Communications and Technology Committee minutes of October 19th, 2022, and the Plan Commission minutes of October 13th, 2022 to place on file.
All right, we have a motion by Linda, second
Second.
by Jeannie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No one's opposed to a single thing tonight. Okay, next thing we have is a gentleman known by Hugh Zettel, who is our county board representative from District 14. You have the floor.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to just cover a couple comments and update on the public hearing and then the budget that was approved at the county level for 2023, as well as some activities going on with some of the committees I represent on behalf of the residents that are in District 14. Relative to the 2023 budget, we have total expenses of $108.9 million, total revenue about 78.2, and total allowable tax levy of $30,691,035. That's about a 2.4% increase versus 2022. The tax rate per $1,000 of assessed of equalized value is $3.10 plus the other digits that we have to do by law, the 7 extra digits, but I'll just say roughly $3.10, which is a 12.87% reduction versus the previous tax levy in 2022. So therefore, you know, if your assessed property value was the same, hasn't changed, you'll see on your county portion of your tax bill a reduction of about 12.8%.
Nice.
Okay, so a couple of comments. This is my first kind of budget activity as a newly elected supervisor. Just a couple of things that I thought were interesting going through the process. The county equalized value increased. Our total for this budget cycle was $9,881,686,500. That's a 17.5% increase versus the prior year. It's huge. A couple of things. Obviously, market increase in property values is one of the reasons. Another interesting reason, because that number was such a large V percent, that the financial officer for the county contacted the State Department of Revenue, and one of the things that the state indicated that they were playing some catch-up relative to fixing some of the equalized value. I think with COVID and other things, they probably were behind the power curve a little bit. So just a huge percent. So that acts as a budget positive, relative to looking at impact of tax levy. A couple other items worth a note. There's increased resources for the Sheriff's Department, 4 resources in total, a patrol sergeant plus 3 patrol deputies and the associated equipment. And we know, just based on a consultant's report that was done a few years ago, that they needed even more. So this doesn't get them to kind of where they need to be, but it's a drastic improvement with the amount of activity that the department has taken on, both for residents and for the seasonal residents as well. So that's a welcome improvement. There's also, I call it net neutral funding for EMS resources to support a transport program with the Door County Medical Center. When I say net neutral, it's basically all the program dollars that are in the budget to support the added EMS staff and equipment would be offset by revenues provided by Door County Medical Center to basically be at no cost to the county. There's still some work to be done, and there is going to be some sessions next week. I am on the Judiciary and Public Safety Committee, of which the emergency medical staff is part of that committee oversight for me. And then there'll be some joint meetings along with finance and administration. My guess is to look at the agreement that has been in the works between the county and Door County Medical Center relative to how this operations would work. So more to come on that. But those numbers are kind of in that budget. Wage increases to stay competitive in a tough labor market, just as much as you've seen. Salaries and hourly rates go up just because of how competitive it is in the marketplace. The county needs to do that as well. Also, there's significant sales tax reserve increase that was available in 2021. It's kind of like a two-year lag. What we see in 2021 gets applied in the 2023 budget. There was a sales tax amount that's going to be applied for this tax levy of $1.93 million. That's compared to roughly $684,000 prior year in 2022, so that's almost like a 3X increase. They're not applying that total amount as well, so some of that will just go into a reserve, stay in the reserve. 2021 was a oddball year. Everyone trying to get out of Dodge, do something post-COVID. We've seen that in the room tax, rates. We saw that in the total revenues, for across the board in the county relative to everyone, going on vacations, getting, going places. The state of Wisconsin also had a huge increase relative to their tourism economic impact in 2021. So we see that on a seasonal basis relative to what we from a sales tax perspective. So that was also a kind of a net positive to helping mitigate any increase in tax rate just because of that huge sales tax increase in 2021. Now the challenge with that is, and we talked about it, is the sales tax. The state and the governments talk about how their revenues are increasing. Well, a lot of those revenues are based on taxes they charge on inflated dollars, right? So that's one of the challenges we have to be wary of, is that those numbers are somewhat inflated because they're charging tax on inflation, that we're seeing at 8-9%. So we shouldn't expect that we're going to see this kind of windfall sales revenue, especially when we're still in a recessionary cycle that people are thinking is going to extend, a good portion into 2023. So I think it's the county has been very judicious, relative to not using all that sales tax revenue, or expecting that sales tax revenue reserve is going to keep on increasing, because they've got some historical data that shows in the Great Recession in 2008, 2007, when things tanked, that sales tax revenue went down, for several years afterwards. So you just want to make sure you can kind of level load things and be pragmatic about that. So I thought that was good news there relative to how they're looking at that. Surprisingly, the one item that got probably more budget discussion than anything else was Gordon Road. During the portion where the supervisors got a chance to ask questions, I had learned, in conjunction with my fellow Sevastopol colleague on the county board, Mr. Jill Vogel is also here in attendance. We found out from the highway commissioner that the state had changed its requirements for the no left turn lane, that the highway commissioner had done a lot of due diligence to put a budget estimate together of $100,000, which in August we passed a resolution to find $100,000 to do no left turn lane on Gordon Road to prevent, northbound access on the highway, which contributes to a number of accidents. The state changed their mind several times during the process of that design review, yes. And it turns out that it caused two problems. One is it prohibited the county from actually implementing it in 2022, which, the commissioner was on a track to try to get that to happen. And the second thing was it, increased the cost by another $100,000. They basically wanted a longer entrance lane on the southbound entrance going south, an acceleration lane. So I asked if that $100,000, that other additional $100,000 was in this budget, and it wasn't. And there was a couple things that we had learned as well. One is the state is applying for a grant to create a roundabout at that intersection. And so if we would have went ahead and done that no left turn lane, that would have been seen as an improvement, and that would have disqualified them from, getting the grant. So, so that, I think, was one of the reasons why the state slow-walked the highway commissioner, unfortunately. if awarded, the implementation of a roundabout would not occur at a minimum, at least until 2028. That's because they got to do land acquisition. There's right-of-way issues there with existing buildings to the north of the Culver's and gas station where that wouldn't have occurred. What will happen is we'll know that grant status by April. The highway commissioner is confident that if we know what the grant status is, we'll look at getting incremental funding to make sure that no left turn lane can be done when the state is also doing the repaving, because that repaving is still going to go forward. So that's something that Supervisor Vogel and I will keep a close eye on, and if you had seen some of the newspaper articles or saw the board meeting, there are a lot of supervisors that were disappointed, and some of them a little bit angry that that we couldn't do anything, knowing how bad that intersection has been and how dangerous it has been. So I think we've got some good solid support on the board that once we get a status in April, we'll take some action to get that completed. So with that on the budget, if there's any questions, I can answer those. If not, I'll just finish up. The broadband committee's been very active. I think a couple things worth note that you can take a look at on the Door County FiberNet.org website is there's now a dashboard summary of all the municipalities and their various broadband activities. So each municipality is listed. It lists their number of E91 addresses, the amount of county road, highway road miles, and town road miles that they have. We are now updating it to include the number of households as well, and as part of that, we're also showing the percentages of respondents to the WISER survey based on the number of households and also based on the number of E991 addresses, so we can see how well the municipalities are responding to that survey, and then those municipalities can take targeted actions, because the better data that we have, the better it'll help during the grant application process. As part of that process, the first pass of the FCC maps were made available, and the county is one of a handful that the state has asked to help them validate maps because the amount of data we've provided and the accuracy of our GIS infrastructure. They're asking us to validate survey results as well as results they're getting from ISPs that provide data to the FCC to make sure the numbers are accurate. So the county's been active in that. They've also been very supportive relative to our work in the town of Sevastopol. For example, one of the ISPs asked if we could provide the longitude and latitude of all the addresses to help them in looking at their proposals. The GS department, I think, provided that within a day of our request. So it's been a very responsive effort, and the work with the broadband committee, Coordinator Jessica Hatch has been outstanding for all the municipalities, and making sure we don't duplicate effort, and making sure that we have all the information we need to successfully evaluate broadband deployment in our municipalities. There were 2 RPC meetings, one of note, just that was the Jason Feldman conditional use permit was granted unanimously at the RPC, and they also took special note of the town's request and his agreement to place 6-foot trees for barriers and on his property, and that'll be an area. That topic was again brought up since the chairman talked about challenges with conditional use permits and having people meet the requests for screening. And that's going to be revisited again next year relative to looking at updating that ordinance to something to be a little bit more substantial. So we're continuing to be vigilant on that, Mr. Chairman. We also discussed the future policy on regulation of utilities, towers, and wind turbines. The county has an ordinance, and like other ordinance activities, the county is trending towards aligning with state regulations in regard to those matters. They're changing quite a bit when you think of things like 5G expansion, those sorts of things. It's kind of crazy for the town to have something different than what the state mandates or regulates. Same thing with wind turbines and other tower activities. So we're going to look at updating the ordinances to basically just reflect what is in state regulation and just, reduce duplication of effort there. On the 17th RPC meeting a couple weeks ago, again, there was a plat review for some activity going down in Gardner. And the other half of the meeting was spent, there was an overview of the POUTS program done by Mr. John Teichler. It was very informative with his 40-plus years of service to the county. He was able to update us on the challenges and the changes in regulating private on-site wastewater treatment systems. I highlighted some of the challenges that we faced in the town of Sevastopol as we've implemented our short-term rental ordinance, and also highlighting similar concerns town of Liberty Grove has had as they implement theirs relative with people operating beyond their POUTS capacity. And that also led to a discussion on POUTS capacity for beyond the bedrooms when you have, let's say, a 50-person wedding at a house. That also led to a discussion that we'll do some follow-up on, because they think there are some state or some county ordinances and or state regulation that should work in our favor to help prohibit those activities to begin with in residential property. So I asked Mariah to get some more information that we can review and then share with our council as necessary. So some productive meetings on that end.
Great. Go ahead.
Our highway commissioner, Thad Ash, was at our unit meeting last Thursday night. And yes, you could see the disappointment, because we thought we had at least a temporary solution to try to make that a little safer at Gordon Road and the highway. So what you had budgeted, he asked for $100,000, and then to learn that it's going to be $200,000 or $300,000. I mean, he was really disappointed in that. And just what you said, Hugh, that it's now in the state hands, that a roundabout may come in a few years or not. And then on the lease agreement with Sturgeon Bay Utilities for those biosolids, that's at the old landfill site.
Correct.
Isn't that officially closed, though? Or can you accept, what do they mean by biosolids?
Biosolids is basically the solid material that comes out of waste treatment plants, and that is it's
like from Sturgeon Bay?
Yeah, from yes, so that's just being managed by Sturgeon Bay Utilities. There still is there still are certain activities that are ongoing at that location. So it's still active.
Any other questions? Thanks, you. I will appreciate your keeping me abreast of the screening issue, because I will volunteer to make a second appearance as needed to promote that with the RPC. So, I did have one other one. Do you think, let's just for conversation's sake, say it's $200, $200,000 to do Gordon Road? Do you still have the impression that the county will move ahead with that?
Absolutely.
And put it on the same timetable or ahead of the timetable for repaving? Because we don't.
It'll be done in conjunction, just to make sure that, yeah, okay. Absolutely. Because I think, there was an inclination, since it was talked about by some board supervisors that, well, we could get a roundabout by, 2026. And from the discussion at the highway safety meeting that Supervisor Vogel and I attended in July, that one of the state representatives had said that, hey, even if they did a roundabout, it takes 4 to 5 years just to do land acquisition. Yeah. Plus all the environmental impact, right? Native plants, all those sorts of things, that goes on there. There's just no way, if it was 2026, some were alluding to the fact, well, maybe we don't have to do anything, but that's another 3 years. And I think it's a fantasy. And I think it was in the Door County Knock news article that, they got confirmation from the state saying, yeah, it'd be 2028 at the earliest. So they confirmed that it's gonna be, at least 5 to 6 years out.
They might as well station a tow truck there permanently otherwise.
Correct.
And
So,
then think about the
Did you see the
childcare center.
orange, did you see the
Yeah.
orange flags that they put on top of the stop signs now?
No.
Just people are
The
blowing the
orange
stop sign, that's why.
Caution.
yeah. So I think there's clearly, just based on some of the feedback from other fellow supervisors, not in that district, that, something's gonna be done, because they know how dangerous that intersection is.
Great. Thank you very much for your time. All right, slipping back into our meeting packet here, you have a copy of the Door County Inspections October Report, building inspections. And we'll move on to correspondence. Not that much. We do have a copy of the City of Sturgeon Bay's Fire Department report back to the town. Also a notice of pending application for a pier at Westwood Shores Resort Condominium. And another one of those. And we have a copy of a document that came from the Door County Tourism Zone Municipal Permit Administration Program. I'm not sure I know exactly where we want to go with this, but I'm going to let Linda talk to it. It was a service that's being offered to us that we don't need and an expense we can't afford.
Right. Before I address that, you had talked about the investment fund grant program. This is from the Door County Tourism Zone too.
Yes.
And so Destination Door County has $1 million in their budget for this investment grant fund program. And according to the latest memo, they're setting guidelines and hope to have applications available soon. So if that's on our radar for Shower Road,
Yep.
we should keep an eye on that.
I sent Ken Pavich a note today and asked them, the people from the DNR came back to us with this recap that meant nothing. So I went back and asked them to redefine what they were saying. And basically they said, it's gonna be a number of months. They're working through all kinds of procedural things, but it looks like they might move ahead. So I went to Ken Pavich and said, is there any chance we want to get ahead of this with Door County Foundation, who's gonna administer these funds? And see if there's any way we could get them in the loop, more or less. And I haven't heard back from Ken, but that's the only vehicle that'll make Shower Road happen.
Right. Well, we can always, watch for that application and see,
Right.
what we'll need in order to complete an application. Anyway, back to the Door County Tourism Zone and a municipal ordinance. So on last Thursday, November 17th, we had our Tourism Zone Commission meeting. And in the packet, you have the memo, the 2-letter memo there from Juliana in front of you. And it was in response, supposedly in response to municipalities that didn't have time to monitor their room collections and monitor their ordinances and whatever else. So I mentioned at the meeting that it was, at least from Sevastopol's standpoint, that we are very hands-on and we have no problem, and it was never our intent to expect the zone to enforce our individual short-term rental ordinance. We just asked for some cooperation that, okay, make sure they have their cap permit before you give them a zone permit. We asked that each address have its own permit instead of lumping it together, 5 properties under one owner has one permit from the zone. That was all that we ever intended to ask for or wanted to see. So in this packet is this memo saying, oh, well, the zone will enforce your ordinance, but it will be a uniform ordinance among all the municipalities, to which I responded, and Jeannie was on that meeting as well. We have stipulations and conditions in our ordinance that aren't in other ordinances, and vice versa from the other municipalities, so that would never work. And everybody else was pretty much on the same page, that they wanted to be hands-on, controlling their own ordinance. One of the commissioner members said, well, isn't Granicus, you hired Granicus, aren't they enforcing your ordinance? No, Granicus is not an enforcement agency. It is a monitoring agency. So if you have a concern, call Granicus. They are not going to enforce our ordinance. So after much discussion, and David Elliott was very proactive and supportive of this request. And again, you can refer to the memo where it says, oh, and they would do all this for us for the range of $180 to $200 per the number of permits that you have. So if we have 80 permits times $200, okay, so $16,000. Anyway, the motion failed. It was a resounding failure. No, I didn't hear one vote in favor of, maybe David Elliott
Well,
did.
David brought
but-
up the,
Yeah, I guess he made the motion, so he
I
would
think he'd
support it.
support his idea.
He was probably the only one that voted in favor of it. Otherwise, it was a resounding no, and Jeannie can confirm that as well. And so, okay, that's that. But lo and behold, it is now appearing, and so our connection was so bad, our Zoom connection was so bad that Josh Van Lieshout, the chairman, said, we have to adjourn and we'll resume, at a later date. Well, so now they have rescheduled this meeting for December 1st, Thursday at 9 a.m. And I sent a memo to Juliana saying I'm not available. I work on Thursday mornings usually. And I assume that this matter was defeated, so it won't be back on the agenda. But it is on the agenda. So I'm hoping that Ms. Vogel will be there, and, unless the rest of the board does not agree that we want to monitor our own ordinance, correct? I cannot imagine one attorney monitoring all of the ordinances
well, look at,
or responding to our requests in a timely manner.
well,
So,
look at what they have to enforce as far as trying to go back and collect room tax and how much the attorney is involved in that. I don't see the point why they're going down this rabbit hole. I don't
And like I said, everybody to have one uniform ordinance,
Every
when we're all a
community's
little
different.
different, yeah, we're all different. And,
Yeah.
we worked hard on our ordinance, trying to come up with something that was acceptable to the neighborhood and the short-term rental owners, and, I think we managed to do that, so.
Would you,
Anyway.
I read this thing and it was a total joke to me. It almost sounded like this is an opportunity for us to hire another employee and
And
the
move
cost
the
is.
office.
And the cost is borne by somebody else.
Yeah, get a bigger
Would-
office, too.
Would you be willing or interested in writing a very direct and to-the-point letter that we would sign off on and say, we do not support this in any way, shape, or form? Our request is simple and has been repeatedly the same, a DAT cap permit and one permit per resident, per rental, period. And I will sign that and send it in to Josh. And if you would do that. It's ridiculous. Just the thought that you could get the towns to agree to the same verbiage for everybody's short-term alone would be climbing a mountain, but
Well,
if you
and,
feel you would like to do that, I'd be happy to support that.
and there were other commissioners that spoke up too, that said, no way is this gonna fly in our town, so
I don't understand why they're bringing it back.
I don't know why it's being brought in.
I don't understand why they can't just simply do what we've asked. If you were gonna apply for a permit, they should check the box, I have my DAT cap permit, period. It shouldn't be anything other than,
It's not hard.
it makes no sense whatsoever.
So
But
just a short memo,
So
and
short-
I'll send it to Amy, and she can tweak it, and you can tweak it and
Yep.
sign it or whatever.
just
Okay,
as
I will do that
direct
tomorrow.
and to the point as you can make it.
Yep,
And copy me on it, because if I need to
Okay.
read it out loud, I'll do so.
Okay. All right, so we're down to that part of the meeting where we talk about announcements. And on Friday night, what's going to happen here, Dale? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to nudge you awake. Christmas party. Would you turn that camera around and show the people what that tree looks like? Because I will tell you what, two people in this town, Linda and Amy, have done another great job planning a super Christmas party for town residents this Friday. Food, beverages, fun and games. It'll be held right here. I have a feeling that since there's a chair back there, that we're going to have appearance by Santa. So if you're inclined to sit on his lap and share your wishes, you may get something special for Christmas.
Well,
So-
Mrs. Claus may not like that, though.
Oh, well,
She's going to be here.
I think
so.
she's used to it by now.
At any rate, it's here Friday night. It's our 4th annual one. We've had a good turnout years prior. We could fill this room. We still have plenty of room. It's from 5 to 8 p.m. So if you can make it, bring your kids, your grandkids, whatever. We'll be happy to have you. We have a park and recreation meeting on Tuesday, December 14th. There is a communication and technology committee meeting on Friday, December 16th. And our next Board of Supervisors meeting is December 19th at 7 p.m. And before I wrap this meeting up, I would ask for 10 seconds of your time to ask Mr. Zettel to step up to the table here for just a moment. That's you, Hugh.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, uh-oh.
Uh-oh. What did
Hugh
he do
has
now?
done an outstanding job on behalf of the town. He's not a member of the town board. He is a county board supervisor who has done a lot of work on broadband, has been a key component of our town's effort to expand broadband. Basically did the RFP for our town, has really been the glue that has helped Jeannie and her team do everything to get us to the point in time that we will be at on Friday. And so in my envelope here, I have a small gesture, a small thank you from the town for all of your help and assistance. And it's a bribe as well for future work. Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Well deserved, let me tell you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So with that, we could have a motion to adjourn. Derek's not here.
Oh,
Take it,
I'll
Mark.
make the motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mark, seconded by?
Second.
Second by Jeannie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.